In a powerful West African kingdom ruled by tradition, ancestry, and silence, a young king ascends the throne at a moment when blood, power, and destiny collide. Newly crowned and still bearing the weight of his father's fading reign, the young king struggled to assert authority in a palace where loyalty is inherited, not earned. His greatest threat does not come from foreign kingdoms and enemies, but from within his own bloodline, his younger brother, Akosua, charismatic, reckless, and increasingly dangerous. At the heart of the palace sits the Queen Mother, a formidable matriarch whose influence had shaped the kingdom for decades. Her love for Akosua is fierce and unapologetic, blinding her to his growing ambition. When the king confronts her about her interference, the argument erupts into a devastating rupture. That ended with a slap across the king's face, his crown falling to the marble floor. In that moment, the line between mother and monarch was severed. The king banished his younger brother Akosua from the kingdom, and his kinsmen. But exile, as the story reveals, is not mercy. It is prevention. While the court resumes its rituals and appearances of stability, the true cost of kingship unfolds in private. The king's wife, Amma, a calm and perceptive presence, becomes his emotional anchor. Yet even she senses the danger lurking beneath the surface. A terrifying nightmare of capture, binding, and death shakes her awake, echoing the unrest spreading through the kingdom. Unbeknownst to the king, the Queen Mother is fighting her own desperate war in the shadows. In a powerful flashback, she kneels beside her dying husband, the former king, begging him to intervene and overturn their son's decision. Though frail, the old king speaks with unwavering clarity. The exile of Akosua is necessary. The kingdom cannot survive with two suns in one sky. Refusing to accept this, the Queen Mother turns to the spiritual realm, seeking the village oracle to bend fate itself. The oracle sat cross-legged before the shrine fire, his face streaked with white ash, his eyes hidden behind a cowrie-covered mask. He did not turn as she approached. "I have come for help," the Queen Mother said, her voice unsteady. "The king, my son, has chosen wrongly. He means to exile his brother. I need you to speak to the spirits, to cast a spell that will cloud his judgment at dawn. Let him say something else. Let him change his mind." The oracle stirred the embers with a carved stick. Sparks leapt into the air like tiny stars. Then he spoke, his voice deep and layered, like many voices speaking at once. "I have spoken to the ancestors," he said. "They have already decided." Her heart sank. Decided what? That the exile of Akosua will bring peace, stability, and prosperity to the kingdom? She took a step forward, her face twisting in disbelief. "It can be overturned. You have the spiritual power," the Queen Mother said. The oracle's mask turned toward her. "The spirits have spoken. To defy them is to invite ruin." The Queen Mother's eyes glistened. "Then let ruin come," she whispered. "For what is peace if it cost me my son?" But the oracle had already turned back to the fire. The embers glowed brighter, throwing her shadow across the shrine wall, tall, trembling, and alone. She stood there for a moment, staring into the flame as if it might change its answer. When it didn't, she turned and walked back into the darkness. The ancestors delivered the verdict that Akosua's exile will bring peace, stability, and prosperity. The Queen Mother left the shrine defeated, rejected by both mortal and divine authority. As the dawn approached, Akosua made one final, reckless move. In a tense, explosive moment, he attempted to rally disloyal guards and unseat his brother by force. The coup collapsed almost instantly. The king confronts Akosua face to face, calm and resolute, exposing his brother's true intentions before the palace. The failed attempt confirmed what prophecy, instinct, and fear had already warned. Exile is not cruelty. It was necessity for the peace and prosperity of the kingdom. Akosua is led beyond the last boundary of the kingdom, deep into a forbidden forest feared for generations. And at the point of no return, an oracle's messenger performs the ancestral rites and rituals of banishment, severing Akosua from the kingdom and his kinsmen, from blood, the throne, and name. Akosua stepped into the evil forest and its scary darkness alone, swallowed by the forest, banished for life, never to return to the kingdom. Back in the palace, the Queen Mother collapses under the weight of her loss. She had lost one son to exile and another to kingship. In grief-stricken solitude, she remembers her husband's final words and realizes the cruel truth of destiny. A mother can lose a child without burial, without death, without closure. As the kingdom marks the exile with drums and ceremony, another ending unfolds quietly. Hours earlier, unknown to the Queen Mother, the king had been summoned to his father's sickbed. In an intimate, sacred rite witnessed by the chief oracle, the dying king places his hands upon his son's crowned head, blessing his reign, his life, and his future. Prayers are spoken, ancestral rites are sealed. The young king weeps openly as wisdom passes from one generation to the next. With a final cough and a final breath, the old king dies. Outside, the drums continue, not in celebration, but in transition. The young king emerges fully alone, bearing a crown that is no longer symbolic but absolute. He has chosen order over blood, duty over love, and destiny over mercy. The kingdom stands on the brink of peace, but at the cost of innocence. And far beyond the palace walls in the depths of the forbidden forest, in a strange land, in exile and isolation from his kinsmen and his father's kingdom, he plotted his return. Akosua's story had not ended. It had only just begun. 2 years had passed since the death of the old king. 2 years since Akosua had been swallowed by exile. The kingdom had known peace, or something close to it. The markets thrived. The borders held. The drums beat in rhythm again. Yet peace, like silence, sometimes only waited. In the dead of night, Queen Amma was seized by a second, far more terrifying nightmare. This time the vision is not symbolic or vague. It was vivid and unmistakable. She saw her husband, the king, captured and broken. She saw him beg the Queen Mother for help, only to be refused. She saw the palace burn and the kingdom collapse into ruin. When Amma wakes screaming, the entire palace was thrown into alarm. Lamps are lit, guards are summoned, and sleep becomes impossible. Amma knew this wasn't just a dream, it is a warning. That night Amma screamed, not softly, not in confusion, but with terror sharp enough to wake the palace. She jolted upright in bed, her body slick with sweat, her breath ragged, her eyes wild. This was no wandering dream of shadows and fear. This was clear. She had seen her husband, bound, bruised, dragged through dust and ruin. She had seen him beg, not to the gods, not to the people, but to the Queen Mother. "Help me," he pleaded in the dream, his crown shattered at his feet. The Queen Mother stood unmoved. She turned away. The palace burned. The kingdom cracked. The land fell into silence. Amma gasped awake, clutching her chest as though the dream had left a wound behind. Servants rushed in. Lamps were lit. Guards stood at every doorway. No one slept after that scream. Not in the king's household. Not in the palace. This was not a dream of doom. It was a warning. Seen, the shrine awakens. At the same hour, far from the palace walls, the oracle rose from his mat. He had not been dreaming. The pounding came again. Bang, bang, bang! The shrine door shook under the force. The oracle wrapped his robe around himself and opened it. The female high priest burst inside, breathless, her eyes blazing. Half her body was streaked with white chalk. Her feet were bare, her movements restless. "Why are you sleeping?" she demanded. Before he could answer, she began to sing. War songs in an ancient dialect, her voice sharp and trembling. She danced in frantic circles, bowing her head, striking the earth with her palms. "The storm is coming," she cried. "Are you ready?" She paced the shrine, her staff rattling against the floor. "Prepare for war," she said. "The clouds are gathering. The eagles must not be defeated." The oracle frowned. "What is it?" he asked. She stopped suddenly and turned to him. "No one sleeps when their roof is on fire." Silence fell between them. Then she spoke, slower now, heavier. "The storm is here," she said. "We have an enemy in our midst." The oracle's jaw tightened. "You must inform the king," she said. "At first light." Seen, a kingdom awake. That night, no lamp was extinguished in the palace. Amma sat wrapped in white, refusing to lie down again. The king held her hand, listening as she spoke of what she had seen. Every detail, every image, every plea. Outside, guards doubled their watch. The drums did not sound. Even the night birds were silent. Somewhere beyond the walls, the oracle prepared his message. And somewhere farther still, beyond forests, beyond memory, something long exiled stirred. The kingdom had believed the storm was over. It had only been waiting. The exile that once brought peace has not ended the story. It had only delayed the storm.